Good to see you tonight. Genesis is where we're going to be. We're in Genesis somewhere, 6, isn't it? Yeah, Genesis 6. I'm going to tell you about Genesis 5. I want to go through real quick. Do you believe God takes action in our lives today? Do you believe God works in our lives today? Yeah. I think He does too. I think He moves. I believe God wanted me to be part of the Cowboy Church. I got to see that firsthand. I was sitting on the front row when I got to watch God get me ready and move me to the Cowboy Church. My wife and I, we'd started a church 15 years ago, and we'd put sweat and blood and drops, put our lives into it for 15 years, and we'd planned on being there forever and ever. And one of the most painful experiences in our lives resulted in one of the most wonderful experiences in our lives, getting to be here with you folks. This has been absolutely the greatest experience of our life. Have you ever lost a job or something, and then you look back later and you realize that that's the best thing that ever happened to you? Yeah. A lot of you have. And God uses our experiences lots of times to put us in a better place. Do you still believe that in all things God works together for good to them that love the Lord? Do you still believe that? I do too. I believe that's the greatest hope we have in the Bible, that God does good for His children. Now tonight we're going to look at divine intervention. We're going to deal with divine intervention. When God intervenes in our lives and does things very observably, very overtly, whenever we watch God work. Tonight we're going to look at that. Tonight we're going to witness Him intervening on planet Earth. He's going to step into the chronology, the narrative, the story of planet Earth. He's going to step in and He's going to change some things from our front row seat tonight at the sale barn. We're going to watch God cause havoc on the earth. We're going to see God destroy this planet, the surface of this planet, to do ultimate good. So, to do ultimate good, God had to break a few eggs to make an omelet. You with me? So, to do ultimate good, He had to break some things. He had to cause some havoc. Now, there's a lot of times that I find in my life that I'm going to question what God does. I say, God, what are you doing? You know, when he told Moses to throw that rod down, I could just see old Moses. He's thinking, now God, if you gave me this rod and you okay, I'll throw it down. Then He said, now I want you to pick it back up after it turned into a snake. And I could just see old Moses, can't you? He said, now God, have you ever picked up a snake by the tail? I mean, you know, he didn't want to do that because he was questioning God's activity. I've questioned God in my life, and I know you have too. But His ways are always perfect. And when we look back on, boy, I mean, why in the world we have to go through that stuff? But when we get through it, and God does the teaching, the healing that He's going to do in our lives, and we look back on it, you know, it's kind of like one of those, oh my, I see now. I understand why this is going on. The book of Genesis chapter 5 is really a family tree. All it talks about is so-and-so begat so-and-so, and they begat this, and they lived so many years, and they died, and then he begat this child. And so I'm going to just briefly run down through the family tree for you. These are the sons that got mentioned in the Bible. Now, I guarantee you there was a whole bunch that didn't get mentioned in the Bible, but they usually just put in the firstborn. And since I'm the firstborn in our family, I understand why that, you know, we're the most important. I wish Lonnie was here to hear that. But anyway, in this, I want you to notice we get the firstborn here. So we got Adam, and then we skip Cain and Abel. We go to Seth. Now what we're going to do is we're going to follow the Seth line now, okay? And then we're going to go back later and pick up Cain's, but right now we're going to follow Seth. Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, you heard of him, Lamech, and Noah. Now, only one son is named in this Bible, that as I said, is probably the firstborn. Now, if you noticed here in chapter 5, I'm not going to read it, but the length of life here in chapter 5 is very, very long. If you have your Bible, look at it there. And these guys are living 900 years. I mean, they're really getting old. Now, and so we notice this, that now Moses is, if you remember, I told you when we first started studying Genesis, Moses didn't necessarily write the story of Genesis, but he collected the stories that were existing in oral tradition, that were being told around the campfires and all. Moses collected them together. Now, whenever you do something like that, so let's just say tonight, I was going to write a story of the history of the Sauk River Cowboy Church, and I would do it from every one of your perspectives. So you'd come up, you'd tell me your story, you'd tell me your story, you'd tell me your story, then I was going to put that all together. Well, you'd see things happen in that story I would write exactly like Moses does in the story here. He'll start, then it seems like he starts over again, telling that story. So we see that Moses is putting a lot of stuff together. But notice this, Moses collected these stories of these ancient stories and he arranged them in the Torah. And that's what the Jewish people today still cherish, is their Torah, which is Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. So that's what it is, what they cherish. That's their Bible. Now in Genesis 6 is where we're going to begin, and the human population of the earth is booming. Before the flood, I mean, we are in a population explosion. There are people being born. There's, just all of a sudden there was 4, and then there was 8, and then there was 32, and then there was 100. It was just exploding exponentially as people begin to increase. So in chapter 6, verse 1, it starts out with this: when human beings began to increase in number on the earth, and daughters were born to them. Now we're going to jump off into one of the deepest holes in the Bible right now. Okay, are you ready? And we're going to be dealing with things that my email is going to light up for several months as we try to sort this next little bit out, because some of this is just plain weird, okay? And some strange stuff we're about to jump into, so I don't know everything I'm going to talk about tonight. So here we are. All of a sudden, and daughters were born to them. Why would they say that? Well, they've always been having daughters. But all of a sudden, that's important to announce. And let's pick it up in verse 2, and we'll see why that's important. Now, we meet then these men called the sons of God, the Nephilim, the Nephilim, and heroes of old. And you're going to sit there and thinking, who are these people? Well, I don't know. I'm going to give you all kinds of the theories that I read and hear about, but I have no idea who these people are. So let's read verse 2. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. The Lord said, my spirit will not contend with humans forever, because they're mortal. Their days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, the men of renown. Please understand, I don't think anybody knows who these people were, what this is all about. These things were all before the flood. All this happened prior to the flood. And in fact, one of the reasons the flood came was to wipe out all of this Nephilim and all this other stuff. It was to wipe this out. Now, let's start by talking about the sons of God. I try to explain them about what that means. Now, if you were an evolutionist, if you believed in evolution, you might say that, and I've heard evolutionary theory that says that these were, we are Cro-Magnon humans. That's what we're called. And then there were other lines of the human race in evolutionary theory that fell off, that didn't make it. The Neanderthal and those. And so some of the evolutionists who look at this, they say, well, this is simple. That means that the Cro-Magnons here started intermarrying with the Neanderthals, all right? And I don't think that was it at all, but I just want to tell you, some people say that. The science fiction people say that these are just aliens. They came to the earth. And these Nephilim were people from outer space, and they came here and they interbred with human women, and they created these hybrids. All right, that's what the sci-fi people would tell you. Some people would say that the sons of God were the descendants of Seth. Now, you remember who Seth was? Adam and Eve had 2 boys that didn't turn out well at all. Cain and Abel. Cain killed Abel, then Cain left, built a city. And so then Cain started a line of his own. And so some think that this is when the Cain line goes back and remarries with the Seth line. Are you with me? That's what some people think this is all talking about. Some see these as as these are, some see it as fallen angels. That these were demons who left heaven with Lucifer, and they came to the earth, and I don't know how they intermarried with human females, but anyway, some people believe that these were fallen angels that left heaven. Now, it was at this time that God shortened the life expectancy of human beings to 120 years. One time I was talking to my doctor, and I just asked him, I said, how long is the human body designed to live for? Optimally. I mean, if it was everything was right, everything worked perfectly, how long are our bodies supposed to live? He said, oh, about 120 years. About 120 years. And I thought, isn't that interesting? Because that's exactly what the Bible says. That the lifespans were shortened down to 120 years. Now, these are some of the things that we have to deal with. Now, in this, some people see it behind the scenes here, because we're dealing with things called the heroes of old. Now, who are these? I don't know. Some think it may be the Roman and the Greek gods of Zeus, Thor, and those. Others see the Nephilim were giants that were socially and politically giants, and they were the movers, shakers of the pre-world. In my opinion, here's my opinion. I have no idea. That's my opinion. I don't know. That's one of the things I'm going to ask God when I get there. Who were these Nephilim? And who were these sons of God? So I wish I could tell you, but I don't. But let me tell you some things I think I do know. I want you to notice here in verse 5 the problem with the human population. Let's read it. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth. Let's just let that sink in a minute. God saw how wicked human beings had become on the earth. Now get the language here. I want you to notice how he uses the language. And that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Only, all the time. Every heart, only evil all the time. You get it? Moses was trying to paint us a picture here to show us the depravity of the human heart. I mean, we were in a mess prior to the flood. Human beings were violent, they were immoral, they were wicked. We probably don't even today understand how bad they were, because the human population was so bad that God said, I have had it with that, and I'm going to wipe it out. Now, without faith, our life is just one big tragedy after another. Without faith, we go from tragedy to tragedy. And we don't understand why this happens. But see, because what does faith see God doing in the flood story? Because when you and I look at the flood story, we say, well, God really acted unusually by destroying the population. God, that's just not like the way you normally act. So what I want to say is, it takes faith for us to understand that God will sometimes divinely intervene in our lives and do things like this to us. In verse 6, we're going to notice the beginning of the rationale for sending Jesus. As we look into verse 6, we get these words. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race that I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. Now, I don't know about you, but I look at that deep regret that God has here, and I begin to see the rationale, the thinking behind in the heart of God. God is saying, I hate it. This has turned into a terrible mess. In other words, I'm going to have to come and fix it. Now, you and I both know that he had already decided to come and fix it before this happened. But nevertheless, here we see Moses making this case for the depravity of the human heart. How messed up we were. And it's hard to explain because God knows everything. He knew the kind of mess we'd be in before he made us. Now, he regretted us, but he knew we would fail. And so it seems that all life on earth is connected to our success or our failure as a race. And animals, I'm sorry, if we live, the animals live. In other words, God's going to wipe us out, and he's also going to wipe out the animals. So they're kind of with us. You ever have any regrets? I regret buying a Ford Pinto station wagon. I still can't believe I bought a Ford Pinto station wagon. I don't know, what was I thinking? Well, it was ugly, it was underpowered, it wasn't as gas efficient as I thought it would be, and it had the resale value of a dead cow. I mean, you know, why was I doing by a Ford Pinto? See, I think God had regret. And I want you to help me here. You're going to have to let your mind go. I think God had regret here that He made us. But did He regret that He made us? I think not. I think He regretted the ends, the lengths He was going to have to go to fix us. I think He knew what it meant. And I think the regret was, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice my son, myself. I'm going to have to come and fix this. Now, when we see God, so tonight we're going to see God intervening. And so what do we see God doing? Well, in verse 8, we see God looking around the earth for righteous hearts. He's looking for people who are righteous. In verse 8, but Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Now, this is the account of Noah and his family. Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time. In other words, if you average out all the people of Noah's day, he was far above average. Are you with me now? I talk about this a lot because I always want you to think and understand that God doesn't grade us on the curve. All right? We're graded by God's standard. But when you average out all the human race, Noah was better than everybody else. He was way up there. So he was called righteous in comparison with everyone else. And then we get this little verse. Let's keep reading. He was blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. I think there's the key. We're beginning to see why Noah was selected to have grace, why he was selected and given righteousness. Because he walked faithfully with his God. Noah had 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And Noah found favor or grace in the eyes of the Lord. Now, Noah was called a righteous man. And as I said, he was righteous in comparison to the others. And he was blameless, and he walked faithfully with God. So let's watch God begin to intervene in this life, because we're going to watch Him move now and destroy the earth. Verse 11. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all the people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I'm going to put an end to all the people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. I'm going to destroy it. That's what God said. I'm going to destroy the earth. Now, He didn't mean He's going to break up the planet, but He destroyed the surface of the earth. He said, I'm going to destroy it. I'm going to intervene. I'm going to reach in there. And because the earth was corrupt in God's sight and full of violence. Okay. Now, we notice that in verse 14 that we see God revealing a plan of salvation. And this, to me, friends, makes me want to get excited and get happy. Because I see here, we hear all this bad stuff. They were only evil, always, continually. Never had another thought about anything but evil. All that's going on. And then God finds a way to save them. God finds a way to save us. As bad as we are, as messed up as we are, God finds a way to save us. Now, doesn't that make you want to get excited? What does it mean? So, he said, so make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you're going to build it. The ark is to be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high. Yeah, and make a roof for it, leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all the way around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower, middle, and upper decks. So you get it. It had 3 decks. It had a window around the top for ventilation. You put all those animals in there. You need some ventilation. So that's how He made it. So God was making a plan of salvation. Dear friends, this story of building an ark is so transportable, so transferable to our lives. See, that's what Jesus did when He came to the cross. He built an ark for you and I to get in and to be saved. So He built that ark. And see, we're going to watch God put this in motion. Verse 17. I'm going to bring floodwaters on the earth to destroy all life under the heavens. Every creature that has the breath of life in it, everything on earth will perish. Now we see God establishing this covenant. He shows a way to be saved. Now, I want you to pick up this. And if you're listening on this, if you're watching on the YouTube, I want you to get this. God figures out a way to save us. And He shows us how to be saved. And how He does it, He creates a covenant between us. I mean, have you ever went into a contract or a covenant with somebody, and you shake hands on it? You know, you have one party and you have another party. You agree on a covenant, you shake hands, and that's an agreement. Well, God entered into an agreement with human beings. Verse 18, I will establish my covenant, or agreement with you, and you will enter the ark, you and your sons, your daughters, your wife, and your wives with you. And then he keeps going and talks about it later, but he says, here's the covenant. You build an ark, you get into it, and I'm going to save you. I'm going to tell you a flood's coming, and I'm going to take care of you. And if you'll notice, we're going to, I don't know if we'll get to it tonight for sure, but we'll in the next Thursday night, that when Noah got into the ark, who shut the door? God shut the door. It's very clear that when Noah got everything in there, all like that it needed to be, God closed the door. So it was God's plan, God's protection. He was going to show Noah a way to be saved. You and your sons and your wives and your sons' wives with you. In other words, all the people in your family, your children, your grandchildren, everybody that you can get in this ark will be saved. Now, friends, I don't know about you, but I'm building an ark myself. I'm building an ark. It's not physical. I've not got any boat, gopher wood, or pitch or anything like that, but I'm building an ark. I've been building an ark for 60-some-odd, well, a long time. I've been building an ark a long time. Who am I trying to get in it? I want my wife in it. I want my kids in it. I want my kids' wives in it. I want my grandkids in it. I'm building an ark. And we all are building an ark. And when the time's right, God's going to bring all those people into the ark, and He's going to close the door, and He's going to save us because of what He promised us to do. He made that agreement with us. Now, we often hear about an extinction event. They tell us that that meteorite that whizzed by us at 30,000 miles an hour, about 117,000 miles out in outer space, they say that meteorite, if it had hit the planet, would have been an extinction event. In other words, it would have wiped out all life on planet Earth. You and I wouldn't have been here tonight, sitting in the cold, trying to go on. We'd have been somewhere else with the Lord. So here we're going to see an extinction event. Verse 19. You are to bring into the ark 2 of all living creatures, male and female, to keep them alive with you. 2 of every kind of bird, of every kind of animal, and every kind of creature that moves along the ground will come to you and be kept alive. You are to take every kind of food that is to be eaten and store it away as food for you and for them. Oh, there's so much in that. I need to take another night, just unpack the things that are in that. Here is God, and He's saying, get ready, take care of these folks, and I'm going to bring them to you, and you take care of it, provide food for them. Now I want you to notice in verse 22, a little old verse here that just has to be talked about. And Noah did everything as God commanded him. When God spoke to Noah, he was a faithful man. And he did exactly what God said. He built that ark, just like God said to build it. He built it with the right wood. He used the right dimensions. He used pitch, and he built the right design. He made it. He got his people in there. He got the animals. He did everything God commanded him to do. Listen carefully to me, because I want to say that you need to know this. God will go to extreme measures to bring about good in your life, to bring you to the ark, to help you build your ark. God will go to extreme measures to bring good in your life. Bill Johnson, we don't know why Bill had a stroke. And we may never know here, but I want to tell you, God is doing something. God wants to do something good in Bill's life. You know, and each of you, I look at each of your lives, and I think of some of the difficulties you've had, and we wonder, God, why did you let that happen? Why did you intervene? And God says, you're going to have to trust me. You're going to have to live by faith. I'm building an ark. Now you don't see it, you don't understand it, but I'm building an ark, and I'm going to make it. I'm going to get you in it, and you're going to be safe there. And so Noah did everything God commanded him. But just remember, God's going to go to great lengths, extreme measures, to bring about good in your life. So, I guess what I want to say is this. Have faith in His plan and His will. Trust Him. Just trust Him. Oh, there's times I wonder, what in the world are you doing, God? Why are you letting this happen? Why are you doing this? Why is the economy so messed up? Why did the stock market fall? Why did these people get sick? Why did those people die? And I question God, and I question Him, and I have to say, God says to us, just trust me, live by faith, trust me, and do what I command you to do, because you're building an ark, and I'm going to put you in it, and I'm going to keep you safe. So folks, here's what I want you to do. Let's go and keep building our arks. Keep building it. Make sure your grandkids get in it. Make sure your kids get in it. Make sure your great-grandkids get in it. Make sure your neighbors get in it. I mean, make sure everybody you know can get in that ark. Build that ark. And when God's ready, He'll close the door and protect us. Father, tonight,